Hello and welcome to a colour along from Colour with Claire. So today the book that we're going to be doing the colour along in is Ivy and the Inky Butterfly, and this was voted for by you on my social media poll when I put a list of books out that you might want to see a colour along of. This one came out on top. You also voted for the exact page that we're going to be colouring as well, which is this one here with Ivy peeking out of the door to Enchantia. Now as you can see, a few little leaves have already been coloured, and this is because I started to film this colour along, got through everything I wanted to say through the introduction, started doing the colouring, and then realised that I hadn't pressed the record button. So thankfully I caught it early before I'd done any more of it, but yes, that's why there are a few leaves that have already been coloured. So I'm going to be using Prismacolor pencils for this colour along. You can use absolutely any pencil that you like. If you're using polychromos, you might want to make use of my polychromos to Prismacolor conversion chart, just if you want to keep the same shades of colours as I'm using, but you don't have to do that either. So these are the three colours that I've chosen for these little ivy leaves. We have the olive green, the lime peel and the yellow chartreuse. Now the way that I chose these colours was using my Prismacolor combination chart, which I'll just get out for you here. And because there's quite a lot of leaves on this page, in fact there's no flowers whatsoever, it's all leaves and a few mushrooms, I thought we'd better be careful with what shades of green that we're using so we don't overuse too many greens or use the wrong green on the wrong thing, if that makes sense. So I thought with ivy being quite a dark leaf, we'd go with one of these sort of mossy green colours rather than a really light sort of aqua green. So I chose this combination here, the dark green, olive green, lime peel and yellow chartreuse, but I just left the dark green off and made the olive our darkest colour, basically because there's not much space to fill there, so I didn't really think 4 colours in a tiny leaf was going to work. It probably could, but I just thought for easiness, we'll just use 3. So these are the 3 that I've chosen. I've made sure that they're really sharp. I just got this through the post today, the Prismacolor pencil sharpener, made specifically for Prismacolor pencils, and so far so good. I've had no breakages from it, and I've sharpened quite a few different Prismacolors. So that might be something to think about using, but it's not necessary. Okay, so what I just wanted to make a note of before we begin is that I know that this is quite a busy page, especially lots of leaves. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on here, and it could be quite a daunting page to start off for some people. And what I wanted to say was that if you do have one of these pages, the best way to get through it is to concentrate on just one item at a time. Don't look at it as a whole, because that can be really overwhelming. So what I did when I coloured this page, which is the Wonder Room, and it's absolutely packed with little bits and bobs, was just to concentrate on the one thing that I was colouring, not look at the rest of the double spread because it really would have sent me a bit mad. And a lot of people who colour very detailed pages like this might be inclined to just colour some of the little things just in solid colours, just to hurry up and get it done. But what I wanted to put across was that if you just spend time on those little details, even though it could take you longer, it will end up looking like a better result. So we're not going to just solidly colour anything, it's all going to be blended and look lovely. So we're going to concentrate on these ivy leaves, we're not going to look at anything else until we've finished those. We've got our 3 colours, and how I have done these particular leaves, let me just zoom in a little bit. So how I've done these leaves is to take the darkest colour at the bottom of the leaf and use quite heavy pressure at the bottom, and then as you're going further up the leaf, gradually let your pressure lighten on the page until you just have a very tiny whisper of colour. So we're going really heavy pressure, really dark colour at the bottom, and just gradually easing it up to a paler shade. Now that paler shade, that little whisper of colour, gives us a great base to put our next colour on without it looking like 2 colours sat together. It's going to look as if it's blending seamlessly into the next. So we go over the base light colour that we've made with the previous colour, and we go quite firmly with the next so that that blends into that base. And we do the same thing where we graduate it up to very, very light, and we finally take our last colour and blend that in as well. So you may be thinking this is going to take forever, but once you've got into this sort of 3 colour blend, you do get into the swing of it, and it does get quicker and easier to do. So I'm just going over it one more time just to make those blends a little bit more seamless. And there we are. So that is how to do the basic ivy leaf. So I'm going to just carry on doing this. It's going to be done in real time, this colour along is. I'm not going to speed anything up. So it's going to be done across a series of videos rather than just all in one video with like a sped up section. The reason I'm doing it in real time is just so you can colour along with me and you don't feel rushed or anything. I mean, I know you could always pause the video and take it at your own pace, but I think I quite like to just sit and have a little chat while I colour. I know no one's chatting back at the moment, but it's nice just to sit and actually colour it in real time so you can see it being done rather than a fast version. So I think in video 1 today we will tackle these ivy leaves, make sure we've got all of those done, and I think after that we're going to be doing these stones on this archway. I've got no plan of why I'm doing that particular order or why I'm starting with this. It's just that they called out to me really to start first, these leaves. Now if we were being super sensible, we would start off, if right-handed, over here and sort of colour in this direction so that we don't smudge anything, but I'm never sensible. I just colour what I feel I need to colour first. But what you can do is just put a piece of paper, when you get to that stage where you might be rubbing, you can put a piece of paper over it and then protect the page from your hand. So if you do find that a blend is not as seamless as you'd like and it looks a bit boxy, you can just go back in with the lighter colour and sort of push it into the darkest colour, and that should blend it out. You can also use your very lightest colour to actually go over the whole thing and give it a bit more of a blend as well. So very important to have your nice sharp pencils on these tiny leaves. And Prismacolors are quite notorious for breakage, so I'm hopeful that this new sharpener that I've bought is going to help stop that happening. The great thing about that sharpener that I didn't actually know when I bought it, and I've just noticed, I thought it was just 2 holes, you know, you could use whichever one you wanted, but actually you use this hole for a longer, sharper point and this hole for a shorter point. So this one takes off less wood, which is great for preserving the length of your pencils as well. So just making sure you're still on screen, because I have a tendency to wander off the screen and not realise. So I've watched loads of colour alongs on YouTube. This is the first video one that I've ever done. I did do a written colour along for Johanna's Christmas, but one thing that people said that they'd like to see from the channel is more colour alongs, so I've had to swallow my nervousness or nerves a little bit, because usually when I do reviews I can just stop it and edit it if I've, you know, messed up or whatever, and on this I can't really do that because I'm colouring along with you. So Just bear with me if there's a lot of silent spots or strange conversation. So loads of these colour alongs on YouTube that I've watched, brilliant colourists and entertainers really. Anne from A Colourful Life, she's so lovely to listen to, she's so chatty and sociable and I'm just completely the opposite of that, so I find it really hard to know what to say, especially when I'm just talking to myself, because that's kind of weird. So what we even could have done with these ivy leaves is just leave the tip of them white, because I've recently come to notice that all of the amazing artwork that I see on Instagram, colouring artwork, there's always an element of white left. You know, when these blends occur, they don't blend out to a colour like we're doing it here, they blend out to white, and it always looks incredibly effective because the white left on the page is what makes the colours really pop. So I think with the other leaves, some of the other leaves that we've got on here, we will be blending out to white just to give that little bit of pop of colour. I find it really difficult though, to be honest, not in, you know, skill, but I just want to have everything coloured. You know, I hate leaving white, but it really does have a great finished result when you do that. So yeah, YouTube colourists, Anne from A Colourful Life, Claire Holloway, I absolutely love listening to her tutorials and watching her colour alongs as well. And people like Pencil Stash, the lady that runs Pencil Stash, love listening to her and watching her. And there's plenty of others as well. So I hope that you enjoy this colour along as much as I enjoy other people's colour alongs. So I'm leaving these little leaf shapes for now. We'll probably will do them in the same colour because they are on the same plant, but for now I just want to concentrate on the ivy, the grown ivy leaves, or the ivy leaves that look like ivy. So same as I said at the start, darker at the bottom, more pressure, slowly graduating up to just a tickle of colour on the page, over which we go with our next colour to create the blend. This is a really nice combo actually. You may not have thought that you could use olive green and yellow chartreuse in the same sort of combo, because they are very, very different colours, but they do work really well together, and it's actually nice not to be just using those bright greens, the true greens that, you know, really the primary kind of colour. Well, they're not primary colours, are they? They're secondary colours, but you know what I mean, like the really bright greens. It's nice to have a variation of shades as well, because of course nature and wildlife has so many different tones and colours to it. So I'm just doing this one here that I forgot about, or I didn't see. So I think we've done this side of the arch. See, that didn't take too long now, did it? And what I'm going to do is just move this up so you can see. And we'll start on this side. So as I say, concentrate on one thing at a time, and you will soon find that you've done a lot more of the picture than you realised. Because I get caught in the trap of looking at the whole thing and just being completely overwhelmed and then leaving it because I don't want to get into it. Because if I get into a picture, if I start a page, I have to finish it. I'm not one of these people who has loads of different pages going at the same time, or just starts and then moves on to something else. If I start a page, it's got to go through to the bitter end. So sometimes these very highly intricate pages really scare me and they end up just not doing it. So I'm actually quite pleased that this one has won out over the other pages. It was very close with the dragon page. That would have been a challenge for me, because I think I probably have coloured dragons before, but the scales and getting them looking pretty enough to warrant a colour along would have scared me a bit. So on this part where the leaf sort of folds over, I always do the darkest colour. Don't know why, there's no rhyme or reason to it. It just contrasts well with the top lightest colour really. So yeah, lots and lots of leaves on this page. Very, very Johanna-like. Might have been nice to have a page with a little bit more variety where we could do lots of different colours, but as I say, you're not forced to use these colours if you don't want to. You could make your leaves purple with green spots if you wish. But it also scares me doing that as well. I get scared by a lot really. It does scare me using different colours than the norm. I do quite like to be safe in the colours that I use with natural pages anyway, because I do want it to look as realistic as possible. So another way that you could do this if it was better for you is just to do all your dark spots first, like this, and then all your medium colours and then all your light colours. I do a mixture of both when I'm colouring. No, not quite ready for sharpening just yet. So let me know in the comments what else you're colouring lately. I finished a piece about a week ago, maybe less, from Sagorok Sakna, which is the book by Emily Lydhall Oberg. It's one of the Swedish books and I absolutely adore it. So I just finished colouring that and I had a whale of a time. I absolutely love that book. It might even be the next one that I complete. Yeah, just to say, if you go too far with your middle colour and you don't have enough room to put that lightest colour, get yourself an eraser. It doesn't have to be a battery operated one, I just use this for ease really. And you can just take some of that colour away and then add in your lightest. So don't worry if you go too far with your blend. It can always be rectified. It's a little more difficult with Prismacolors because they don't erase as well as oil-based pencils, but it can still be done. So I'm very much a championer of the 3-colour blend. As you know, if you've watched the channel and you've followed my blog, you know that I'm quite impatient. I don't like to take forever doing things, and the quickest and simplest route is the best for me. So with 3-colour blends, it's just quite simple to get the right colours that you need. You just choose a dark, a medium and a lighter tone and sort of make sure that they are on the same level of shade, if you know what I mean. So with the olive and the lime peel is basically just a very light olive, and then the yellow chartreuse is a lighter lime peel. So as long as you pick your colours like that, you'll be fine. So yeah, I always try and make things as simple as they can be. If you've ever watched any of my tutorials on colouring, they're just super, super simple. And I don't spend ages and ages doing like multiple layers on things either. There's nothing wrong with that, and I have done it with, especially with Polychromos, because they're quite a layer intensive pencil. But yeah, I don't really like things that take an age to do. So this sort of blending technique where you just leave a bit of a fuzzy colour for the next colour to blend into is just super simple, super quick, and that's how I like it. So moving further down now, we've almost done all of the ivy leaves that are surrounding the doorway. as yet I haven't had to sharpen the pencil, so that's a bonus for the sharpener. Not promoting this sharpener in any way, by the way. I bought it myself. It just arrived today, so I'm sort of having a time getting used to it. I bought an electric sharpener last week. I was quite worried about doing so because with a manual sharpener you can control how much wood you take off and how far you go, and I was quite worried about the electric sharpener sort of eating the pencil, and so I looked around for one that wasn't too expensive. It was around £20 and it was electric and battery powered, so versatile for if you're on the couch or at the desk, and it had like something like 800 reviews or something, and most of them were good. So I thought I'd get that one, and then it came and I put my Prismacolor in it, and I still had the word colour. So one of my pencils, I was up to the word colour, that's where the pencil started, and I put it in for a few seconds, pulled it out, and it was on the OR. So it used up so much wood. I was so scared to use it on any of my other pencils. So that's probably just going to be used for my kids sharpening their graphite pencils for school. Not great for coloured pencils. In my experience now, I probably wouldn't recommend an electric sharpener for coloured pencils, especially if you are worried about them going down, because that sharpener was just chewing them right down. You could feel it pulling into the sharpener. And then me being me, just for a laugh, I thought I'll put my tiny weeny little stump of non-photo blue in there to see if it'll just chew it all down. And it got stuck. So I spent about 45 minutes with 2 hair grips trying to get this stub of a pencil out of the sharpener, because it wouldn't go round, it wouldn't do anything. But I got it out and it works still, so it's all good. So I think that is the last, I keep wanting to say holly leaf, that's the last ivy leaf that we have got on this surrounding here. As you can see, we've got some on the door, which we'll also do, because I just find it easier to do things in sections of what they are rather than areas of the page, if that makes sense. So I'll do all of these leaves, and then I'll do maybe all of the bits and bobs here, and then all of the stones. That's just the way I do it, because it's easier when you've got all your colours out as well. You don't have to keep going backwards and forwards into your pencil case. So one of the other things I've also come to realise recently, to do with leaving the white on the page rather than colouring the whole item in, is that what makes it really pop out as well is the contrast between the light and the dark colours. So if you do leave that white on an item, make the other end of the spectrum as dark as possible, and the contrast is what makes it pop as well. So if you've done these leaves and you wanted to darken up the contrast, you could just add some really dark green or even a touch of black at the bottom of these leaves, and it just gives the light bit even more of like a starkness. So I may end up doing that later. So yeah, I was really nervous about coming on and doing this colour along actually, because I'm not a great speaker. I like to rehearse and do things at my own sort of speed where I can stop the recording and edit it and start again and stuff. Because I do lose quite a lot of my words. I seem to think of something and I just can't get the word. Like the other day I was doing the review for the new book by Tomislav Tomic, and I couldn't think of the word turrets for the castle, but eventually it does come to me about 5 minutes later into the review. So if I say a lot of then you know I'm trying to think of the word. It's quite funny because my school reports were always too talkative, talks too much. I think a lot of kids were, though. It seems to be the biggest thing that was written in reports was talk too much. So it's quite funny, I don't know about you guys, but it's quite funny that I've turned out to be a colourist, so to speak, because I didn't have one artistic bone in my body growing up until really about 2.5 years ago when I started this blog, almost 3 years actually now. And my first coloured pages were very, very childish, childlike. They weren't artistic or you know, had any flair whatsoever. And I think it's amazing really how, when I look back at things that I coloured at the start and look at what I'm achieving now, and I don't mean that in a boastful way, I just mean it in a comparison like for like, how much I actually have learned and how good some of my work is. Again, it's nothing to do with boasting or blowing my own trumpet. It's just that I never ever was a creative or artistic person before I started doing this hobby. And some of the pages that I've done, if I'd have looked at those a couple of years ago, I'd have said there's no way ever I'd be able to do that. So when I see people on Facebook groups saying, you know, feeling down because they look at everyone else's beautiful work and they don't feel like they could ever get there, honestly, if I can, anyone can. And don't get me wrong, I'm not the best colourist out there by a mile. But I just seem to have picked up these techniques and they work for me. So please, if you worry about, you know, your work being good, it doesn't matter. Colouring is for fun at the end of the day. Even if you are just colouring in solidly and there's no techniques or anything to speak of, brilliant, because you're doing something that you love. But if you are wanting to improve your skills, it can be done. It's not something that only comes to artists and creative people and people who can draw and stuff like that. So I think Johanna Basford, I mean, she's great at colouring. Obviously, she does some tutorials and stuff. But I'm sure I heard her say once that she doesn't really... Colouring's not her bag, drawing is her bag. And she's just bowled over by what people do with her illustrations. So, I mean, if someone is amazingly talented as Johanna doesn't really like colouring or can't, you know, get up to the level of some novice colourists, then anybody can do it. You don't have to be an illustrator or a painter. So we've almost finished with our ivy leaves now. And I think I will move on to the stonework next. It's just calling out to me. So when you are following this colour along and when you finished it, if anybody follows it, please come on my Facebook page or my Insta or Twitter or anywhere you can and show me your finished page as well, because that's what makes doing this worthwhile, is when I know that people have actually got something out of it and they've enjoyed it. That makes me feel great about what I've done. If by any chance no one follows this or what have you, I probably won't be doing another one. Like I say, I was quite nervous about doing this one, so please let me know if you are enjoying it, and if you've done it, show me. So I believe that is the last ivy leaf. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do exactly the same as we've just done with these little leaves now. But obviously that's going to take slightly less time because they're smaller. So I'm just going to sharpen these up to quite a fine point because these leaves are tiny. So let's use the long point option on the Prismacolor sharpener. Oh, well, I think a little bit just snapped off there, but there's nothing in it as far as I can see. Ah, that's better. So we've got a really, really sharp point there. Can you see? Yes. So just sharpen these up. Now, I was told the other day that you are supposed to turn the sharpener, not the pencil, because I'm really bad for just turning the pencil. Hey, look at this. That's not good. Don't know whether that was just pencil anyway or the sharpener, but hey ho. Yeah, you're supposed to turn the sharpener, not the pencil. So I'm trying to do that, but it's so awkward. I don't know if that is like a steadfast rule or what, but I do find that quite awkward to do. Right, so we've got a point. Is it going to stay? Yes, that feels quite secure. So let's do exactly the same thing, and this shouldn't take any time at all. You don't have to be super precise on these because they are only very, very small. And what I'm going to do is I am just going to do all the dark bits first, because I think that will be quicker. So I'm not sure how many videos exactly there will be in this series. I'm not even sure how long I should make each video. What are we on now? 32 minutes, wow. That's quite long just for a few leaves, isn't it? I guess there's going to be quite a few videos in this colour along. So I hope you're up for that. This is why I was worried about not doing any speed in this video, because usually that's what I would do. I would show you the technique and then speed it up. Let me know if you prefer that, please, on this video, and then I can do that in the future ones. If you just want me to show you a technique a couple of times and then speed through it. Mind you, I have seen some colour-alongs where each... Hang on, am I still on camera? Sorry. I have seen some colour-alongs where each video is sort of like an hour long. So maybe I'm fretting over nothing. Let me know anyway. So I've done all of the dark green on this side. Now I'm going to go into the lime peel and literally just do a very, very small area, just leaving a bit of white where we're going to put the last colour. So I do enjoy using Prismacolors, most of all because of the creamy, buttery blending that you can do. Because polychromos do take a lot of time and effort to get that beautiful result. Even though they are better quality pencils, in my opinion, you do have to work harder with them. So for things where I don't really want to spend an age colouring it, like, you know, detail pages like this, I will crack out the Prismacolors, because it just makes my job easier, really. Just makes it all easier, and that's what we want when we're relaxing. Okay, so that's all of the lime peel done. Now we're just going to finish off with our yellow chartreuse. Keep having to check the camera to make sure I'm still on screen. I forget to do that. So I think what I'll do is I'll just finish up these little leaves, and then next time we will do the stoneware stone areas. I don't know. We'll do that next time anyway. Okay, so that's all of our little leaves done. As I say, you don't need to be as sort of precise on the little ones. We're still doing the same sort of blends and everything, still using the same 3 colours, but we can just be a little bit quicker and just put a few bits down rather than a lot. So really all I'm doing here is just doing like a dot of colour and then just a little flick upwards to give the impression that it's going up into the next colour. I'm not really doing the feathering or the dark to light. You don't really need to. It'll still trick the eye. And we'll go back up with our lime peel. And with that, I'm just pushing the very edge of that dark green outwards. I love with Prismacolors how you can actually manipulate the wax and the pigment with your next colour. Some pencils are so hard that once they're down, they don't budge. What I'd also love you to do, please, if you've got time, is let me know if you've got any specific colour choices for anything on this page. Because, for instance, I don't know what to do the background, so everything behind these leaves, I was thinking just black it out. If in doubt, black it out. But then I thought it might not look as good as if we did like a gradient of light outwards. Maybe we could do that. So maybe it could be really light around the edge here to show the light coming out of the room, going into a dark blue, or let me know what you want to do as well, please, because this is our colour along, not just mine. So going around here, just filling in the light chartreuse on all of our little leaves. And once that's done, we have completed our archway, our leaf archway. We also have to do the ones on the door, don't we? I've just realised. I'm really conscious that this video is too long, but I'm trying not to be. So let's just do these on this video so we can start afresh next time with a new subject on the page. So for the door, I'm thinking like a walnut brown, really dark brown, with a few different bits of lighter browns in there as well. I do want something that really makes the leaves on the door pop out a little bit, so I'm thinking a darker brown rather than, you know, the sort of ochre-y colour that could be quite close to this sort of mossy green. You don't even have to do it brown at all, it could be any colour, but as I say, I quite like doing things realistically, and a brown door just seems right to me. So we've got all of our olive green base of our leaves done. Here we go again with the lime peel. finally, for any little bits of the tips of the leaves that have been left in white, we have our chartreuse, our yellow chartreuse. You're not forced to always have room for the chartreuse either. You could just go up to the lime peel and give it a bit of a variation. I'm also not sure whether to do some of these leaves brown and rustic and autumnal, or keep it all green and just have this huge, you know, frame of green with all, and that means that we can use lots of other colours on things like the mushrooms, which will make them sort of contrast together as well. So I think if we start using too many leaf colours like oranges and stuff, it's going to take away from all the other stuff that we need to colour with different colours, if that makes sense. Right, so we have finally finished our ivy leaves around this doorway. Really hope that you've enjoyed this first instalment of the Inky Ivy colour along. Do let me know everything in the comments, what you think, and I'll be back soon with the next instalment. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon on Colour with Claire.